Hey guys, welcome to the Island Renaissance podcast with me, Suresh De Silva. I have two very special guests. These aficionados deal with experiential, luxury, bespoke tourism. Both these gentlemen have ample years' experience in the tourism industry. One gentleman has ample experience dealing with tourism for over 10 years in tourism management. The other gentleman has ample experience in dealing with operations and handling the whole back end and the inventory and the logistics. And it was a marriage made in heaven, as it were. And they decided to join as business partners, and they haven't looked back since. I'm talking, of course, about sensory indulgences. Ladies and gentlemen, a round of applause for Mr. Prindli Vijay Surya and Mr. Udaya Ubu Vikramage. Thank you for being here, gentlemen. Don't be shy.
No, we try not to be, but thank you for having us, Suresh. It's great to be here with you.
Thank you,
And this
Suresh.
conversation.
Thanks for having us on the show.
And thanks for emphasizing business partner.
Yes. We don't want people to leave the podcast and then go back home to have marital problems.
Exactly.
At least we're trying to stop that from happening. So, again, appreciate your time and effort, guys,
Pleasure.
for being here. And let's start off. What's new?
Well, quite a lot of things actually, because as we all know, we had like around 3 to 4 years of absolutely nothing in terms of the tourism front, because I think Sri Lanka has gone through a triple whammy of issues, starting off from the 2019 Easter tax, then that move transitioning on to a pandemic, then that transitioning on to an economic,
The economic
crisis.
crisis.
And I mean, we haven't had a chance to kind of raise our heads above the water,
Yeah, we've had a trifecta of chaos.
talk about it. But
Yeah.
I think what kudos to our little island nation and our people, because what we are is we are resilient.
Yes.
No matter what keeps thrown at our way, we always get up from there and we rise up better. So I think right now we are literally reaping those rewards, because as you would have seen in terms of the arrivals, we've crossed 200,000 month on month from January, which is great. So things are looking up, and there's a great inflow of tourists coming in. So with that, I think for sensory indulgences, most of the experiences we've kind of curated during that time that there was nothing.
Right.
Now it's actually taking off, and
In-
people are really being receptive to what we've done in terms of the hosted experiences sphere.
In the sense that during the slump period, if we might actually call that,
Yeah.
I've noticed this, and I know other people also who are in different disciplines and vocations and industries have also, those who have been paying attention to tourism, those who've been paying attention to what you guys have been doing, or those who know you've seen that your resilience stems from years and years of actual experience in the industry. You guys have dealt, I mean, from hospitality and hotel management to bespoke destination tourism around the world. So that's why it works as a perfect convergence or merging, as it were, of expertise, right? So you guys, I wouldn't say so much as anticipated and forecasted the problems, but we all certainly managed to, I'd say, have a greater sense of adaptability than most. And that is part and parcel of the resilience. Would you say that that is sort of true?
I'd say true to a certain extent. In terms of adaptability, we were new when we were hit with all of these problems. But there was also a dream that the both of us could always hang on to. And I mean, there were times where we would every month we would assess, okay, we're going to give it 6 months, and if things don't get better, we're going to quit. And then 6 months come in, and we kept saying we'll give it another 6 months, and if it doesn't get better, we'll quit. So gradually the 6 became 8, the 8 became a year, because we saw some sort of promise, in the market happening. So it was a lot of hard work, a lot of mental stress as well. I mean, in terms of it may be financials, maybe, sometimes you don't know what to do with yourself, you work in an industry, you supposedly run a business,
Mm.
and you just sit at home because there's absolutely nothing for you to do.
Mm.
So that's when we use that time to go and explore Sri Lanka.
And expand also,
Yeah,
right?
to expand our horizons within the country and just look for, experiences, things for people to do that matter.
Mm. Mm.
Yeah.
You mean in addition to augment the value, in addition to the experiences you were already offering on the table?
Exactly.
Yeah.
Right. And also, I hope this becomes an inspiration to those young entrepreneurs who are thinking about starting their own businesses. So we started in 2019 September.
Right.
So that is post Easter.
Yeah.
When we started, little did we know at what was coming our way.
Yes.
I don't think
that's
anybody
true.
did.
No.
Right.
No.
So we were actually on a growing trajectory. Up to March, things were picking up.
Especially that there's no way to forecast a
I
global pandemic.
Yeah.
Right. And come March, the airport closes. Bam. 6 months. Now, most companies who've been in tourism had chance to make their money. Now, we haven't even seen proper money by the time it started, right?
Yeah.
So for us, I mean, it was really tough, and it really put us to a spot to be like, what do we do now? Like, I mean, we are babies to entrepreneurship then. I think we are still
Right.
growing. We passed infanthood, but we are still children when it comes to the business entrepreneurs out there. But and in a way, I think that was a blessing for us as well, because we were kind of self-taught in how to tackle this. So I don't think anybody knew the equation or the formula for succeeding your business through a pandemic to other strife that's
true.
coming your way.
That's true.
So, and then to be very honest, very close by, it's very nostalgic as well when we pass this area. What we did was just to get by, we started a small takeout, which is called Fine Dine at Home, right? So, because that was fantastic, because I think that what that did,
It
was
kept the fire burning of
also
keeping you all
our
active.
dynamic.
Yeah.
If we didn't have that,
It made
I don't
us
think we
bond.
would have had that dynamic of working together.
Right,
Yeah.
right. That
Because
gave
it
you a
was-
better understanding of
we-
each other, the do's and don'ts.
100%. We were super busy when we did it.
Right.
And then I will say we didn't run it that well because we ended up, this car consumes a lot of petrol, right? So I think we ended up spending more on petrol to come and go to work than we were making in profits.
Right.
But,
Right.
but it really, it kind of cemented the way we work together. Like, amazingly, I don't work together with a lot of people. And when the two of us started working together, there was this kind of synergy, not just professionally, not how we do things. I mean, we have a clear-cut line between what he does and what I do. We
Right.
don't,
Overstep
Yeah,
the lines.
we can't. Like,
Right,
I can't do what he does,
All right.
and he doesn't want to do what I do,
Okay.
right? So, but it's also, I don't know, that partnership is so important. There are times where we have had to, go out of Colombo, stay in various hotels and things like that. And it's not a nice thing sharing a room with someone else.
So I was
it
going to
was
joke that y'all established from the get-go who the top and who the bottom was. In a nutshell.
No, but in all seriousness, like, which side we would sleep on the, or if it was a double bed, right? It was decided once, and it was both our preferred side. Where we would keep, our toothbrushes.
This is literally not a metaphor, no?
No, not a metaphor. Where we would hang, our towels, which side of the towel rack. So when we travel, I mean, I think I have more synergy with knowing exactly what to do when I'm with him than anyone else in the world. So
Right,
that's what's important. That kind of, it's like a zipper. So it works well together. It's two sides.
I've heard Uday described as many things, never as a zipper before. So that's a first. That's okay.
Yeah.
So how did you guys meet?
At the 2004 Josephian Fair.
Yeah.
I know, right?
So Curated
But
𝐒𝐞
to work together? Where did that integration happen? The collaboration aspect.
So
Like,
I think
professionally, did you all cross paths often? Or?
So when I was running one of the hotels in the south, Uday came with another friend of ours and stayed the weekend. And then we had met each other by then, good 13, 14 years back, and not met anywhere in the middle.
Okay.
So we kind of caught up and, made a connection, exchanged numbers and things like that. He was working for a travel agency, a DMC at the time. And I ended up, giving up my job and going into somewhat of an entrepreneurship when I started my food tour. Yeah. So that immediately took off because early 2018,
80.
yeah, was the first 3 months were fantastic for tourism. So it made no sense for me to do a full-time job because this was actually quite rewarding and
Right.
everything kind of worked out quite well. A lot of free time as well. He called me and said, "Man, you started doing this. So let's do this for the DMC kind of spectre in Sri Lanka."
Explain what is DMC for
So
those who don't know.
DMC is what we call local travel agents. So there are large companies and they're destination management companies.
Right. Right.
So in our lingo, a travel agent usually is somebody who sends the DMC business.
Right.
So somebody from outside Sri Lanka.
Okay.
Okay, is the travel agent, and the local company is always the DMC. And I didn't want to get into the DMC business because I was running this on Airbnb. I'd put my personal availability. I'd get a booking, I'd do it, and that's done. I
Right.
get paid 2 days later.
Right.
And he saw, obviously, because he was from that field, he saw a much
Larger
bigger
scope and potential. Okay.
So it took him, I think, about 3 months of convincing.
Yeah.
Because
like
again,
all good things do, it takes
again,
time.
yeah, it took a lot of understanding and the market, and obviously he knew the field much more than I did, so I would always be the grumpy one complaining because in this field you got to do things a lot at your cost, for these DMCs so that they can promote you.
Right. Right.
Yeah. So the first few months it was just pocketing out money, spending on experiences,
Right.
not knowing how much business we could get back.
What the
from them.
return was.
Yeah.
Okay.
Yeah. So later on, it did start coming, and then we were focusing on it. And then we registered and, just started things. And that's when all the problems hit. But even through the pandemic, I think we did fairly well, no? We did
The online experiences.
the
I think.
online experiences way before
Anyone else picked that up?
anyone else picked it up.
I remember.
Yeah. And that kept us busy. It kept the lights on. Well, actually, kept more than the lights on. It was very comfortable. So thankfully, and everything we did then was just to get by till we're out of this storm. And yeah, so around last year we figured out, okay, we're out of this storm now. Now what do we do? That's when we realized we need a full-time office, and it was not just me working from my dining table and he working from his home office.
Yeah.
So it evolved very fast from around March last year. It evolved super fast. We were 2, then we became 3, then we became 4, and then all of a sudden now we are 6. And we're about to be 7. So
I think the most important thing is kind of holding on till that time that you either take off, or it's actually fine line between quits and take off.
Till the storm passes.
Yeah. I mean, when the storm is going on, still you're like, no, this is not happening, let's take off. Or you're like, let's quit. You're between that, right? Between that step, you're on the edge. So which way you turn, when you do it, I mean, sometimes you got to call it quits as well. Like you have to take reality and passion and see.
That's
I mean,
true. That's
you
true.
can't be foolishly following through something where it's detrimental to you.
But
Right. In the-
also, it's not because I'm a huge advocate of Stoic philosophy, right?
Yeah.
And everything from what guys like Seneca and even Epictetus have said. It's failure isn't like necessarily messing up something or making mistakes. It's when you decide to quit. And if you take the biggest success stories around the world, be it innovators, inventors, creative people, entrepreneurs, a lot of even the top 1% that people love to keep talking about, they talk about the success stories. They don't talk about the resilience and the endurance and the shit they've had to go through to get there, right? So you guys have been through formidable hardship when you guys have stayed with each other and kept this thing going. And like you said, it was just the two of you. And then it was remote working. And now it's evolved slowly to where you have your own office space. And you've slowly built a value chain where you have a stable workforce with you as well. So speak a little bit for those who don't know, right? Or like you said, those budding or those new up and coming entrepreneurs who like to look at this particular landscape or field, but they don't understand how to go about it. Now, y'all have obviously had a systematic growth. You can't really call it exponential, but you can't really call anything exponential until you keep running for a while. And you guys have been through considerable storms, and that's a great story. And to be honest with both of you, that's one of the reasons, leaving friendship aside, that's one of the reasons that I wanted to feature you guys on the show. And I also kept fighting. Like, it's not easy to do a podcast,
Sure.
to find funding for the podcast, to keep it going. And like, you guys, I really wanted, and I benchmarked from the get-go, because you guys have personally been an inspiration for me in terms of your resilience and what you guys have weathering that storm to be where you are. True, on leaving the friendship aside, on a professional capacity, I've been involved with you guys on and off, right? We've had threesomes. I mean that business wise, but you know, what advice or consultation would you give to young budding entrepreneurs who want to get into tourism? Let's not like put the cart before the horse. Maybe not necessarily luxury or experiential tourism at the level that you guys handle, but if they want to leave their organizations or companies that they're with, that they're not very, very happy with, they're disgruntled, they're demotivated, they want to do their own thing. I think there's no one else. I can think of just few people who can actually offer some advice on like weathering the bloody storms. So, first question here is, what is the advice with regards to them starting off step by step? The second question is, what is the advice you have for them to systematically and periodically develop that value chain in which they need to kind of have legs to stand on,
Sure.
right? So, either of you can.
I'll start. I think Brinley could add as well. That's a great question, because one is, I don't think a lot of people know this. Both of us came out of the industry to tourism.
Mm,
So I was a professional banker for 5+ years,
Mm.
and his qualification is in motor mechanical engineering.
Mm.
So completely different fields, right?
Yeah.
So I would say it works,
Mm.
but there are few core ingredients that you need to have. Just
Mm.
don't do it for the sake of it. One simple ingredient is the hunger to get out of your seat,
Right.
to explore, and to enjoy what you explore. Not just explore like headless chicken,
Mm.
but if you're getting a kick out of it,
Mm.
meeting people, seeing new perspectives,
Right.
landscapes, to whatever elements you
Building
can see.
connections and networking.
Yeah,
That has to be sort of in your DNA, ingrained in you.
exactly. And if that is your thing, whatever you're doing, if you feel like I want to take this leap of faith, go for it, because that's a great foundation and that cannot go wrong.
Mm.
And also, to answer your second question, to become an entrepreneur in travel, I would say again, don't jump the gun. You will know, trust your gut. You will know when the time is nigh.
So you'd
Because-
advise for people to actually clock in that
Clock in that time. It's rare.
experience in a travel agency or
100%.
working for. Okay.
You would be lost without it.
Right.
You need that. You
So that's
definitely
very
need that.
important.
From like the times to travel from, say, Colombo to Kandy, for example, just a very simple example, right?
Mm.
Also, the main train line. What
Mm.
are the stops?
Right.
What's the best way to go from Kandy to Ella via train?
Right. Right.
That's the thing. So the answer to that is actually you don't take the whole stretch from Kandy to Ella via the train itself. You
Mm.
drive to Nuvareli and take it from there, because otherwise it's backtracking. It's a complete detour to Hatton.
It's
Right.
not 6
So
hours.
It's a painstaking journey. So little things like this, because Sri Lanka is still a very complicated destination when it comes to travel.
Right.
It's not as straightforward as the Maldives,
Right.
right? Where you have uber luxurious properties to amazing experiences as well, but it's limited. There's no road network, there's no rail network, right? There are no thick forests, there are no mountains, national parks. See, the more there is, the more complicated it becomes. So you
Right,
need
right,
to know
right.
this. Otherwise, you can't just say, okay, I'm going to start my own company now. Okay, how do I get from Kandy to Ella via train?
Mm. So you're talking about the customer, the consumer journey or the buyer journey having numerous myriad touch points, right?
Yeah.
So you need to be familiar with each of those touch
You
points.
need to have gone through that.
Mm.
Another thing I would like to add to that is starting off, never do something if it's not worth your while. Because when you're new to this business, a lot of people are going to lowball you.
Right.
Right? They're going to lowball you because they think you have no value. They think, you're just another product on the shelf.
Right.
So you have to identify what kind of market you want to target and just keep at that. If you want to target a mass market, yes, then of course you have to be price competitive. You have to be, you have to be in there. There's a lot of work. If you want to go to the higher levels, then yeah, you can charge a higher price, but then your offering also has to reflect that. So if it's not worth your while, don't do it.
So how did you guys formulate your UVP or USP, if you don't mind me asking, in terms of, like how you guys differentiate yourself from the rest of the players in the market? Did you have first move advantage where you guys are the first of your kind to fill the gap, or were the others doing it already?
We were definitely not the first.
But what would you say is the competitive advantage you guys have?
Our people.
And relationships.
Yeah, our relationships are firstly the hosts that we use
Right.
to host our experiences. Most of them are not, doing that experience full time. So it is an additional income for them.
Okay.
Which is only now becoming a trend in Sri Lanka.
Right.
Yeah. So we want to make sure it's worth their while when they do something.
Okay.
All right. Secondly, it would be, like Uday said, the relationships we have with our clientele. I mean, when we walk into certain DMC offices, it's very informal. And it's not like when we go on sales calls, we're greeted with hugs, we're greeted with, it's very, some would say unprofessional, but that's how we like to do business, right? It's being close, it's understanding your client's product, it's delivering exactly what they want or better.
Right.
And so we look at things in a way where not just if our client would be satisfied or our visitor to Sri Lanka is going to like this. He has to absolutely love this. He has to connect.
Right.
Something I always say is like our USPs, people visiting Sri Lanka get to meet real Sri Lankans, have an intellectual conversation, debate about something, ask uncomfortable questions. I always ask my clients this, if you have a question you have about Sri Lanka which you think may be inappropriate, just ask. We are here to answer. Right? We are here to, kind of soothe your curiosity. And
But that's how we learn, right? By asking uncomfortable questions.
Yeah.
If humanity always, since time immemorial, kept asking
woke
familiar questions or woke questions, known questions, the answers were not going to change, right?
Yeah.
Exactly.
So it's by asking those questions that no one else asks that we begin to explore and develop knowledge, right?
Yeah.
Exactly.
So you guys cater, would you say you're catering, so obviously you're catering to, if you take the hierarchical scale of clientele, a more high-end client base, right?
Mm-hmm.
But would you necessarily say it's a niche?
It is a niche.
So you're operating within a niche.
Within a niche, and again, like Riley said earlier, it's picking what you want to do. It's a big circus out there. You want to pick your act.
Exactly.
Right? So that's what we did. And you cannot blame anybody else who wants to pick a different act. And the thing is,
True.
this ecosystem needs to exist. That's what I think Sri Lanka as a destination has kind of gotten the panties in a twist, to be very vocal about it.
Yeah,
because
100%.
Some say we need mass tourism. Then some on the upper end of tourism say, no, it needs to be high-end, high disposable income. Then some say digital nomads to backpackers.
But they don't have the ecosystem to back that up, to back the claim.
No.
We don't have the ecosystem back anyway.
We don't have an ecosystem. That's the problem.
Right,
We are
okay.
always pushing towards extremes. So an ecosystem is where everything coexists.
So give an example of when you say, because I think our viewers would find this very interesting, right?
Yeah.
When you say there isn't an ecosystem, what do you mean by that?
Right. So
In the Sri Lankan context, of
Yeah,
course.
so let's put it this way. So in terms of travelers, it's also a cycle of evolution. right? I would say the infant traveler would be somebody who may be backpacking or just getting into travel, traveling on a budget. That doesn't mean that guy is going to be on the budget forever. He is going to move up in life. He might become a CEO in another 20 years.
Good point. Good point.
Right? So it's an evolution. So an ecosystem is literally having the backpackers, digital nomads, mass bus groups traveling, the private jet clients.
Okay, so
Right,
you guys are talking
that's
about
ecosystem.
ecosystem in terms of the clientele.
Yeah.
In terms of the clientele, and that's very important.
Right.
Very important in Sri Lanka because everybody needs to coexist. But it's like the fine tune of an engine. It's like the air to fuel ratio.
Right.
Who leads from the front? Is it the higher end, the high disposable income? Whereas that generates the traffic of the mass market or the backpackers coming in. The biggest example I can say is, for example, say Christian Bale, who actually did visit Sri Lanka, right, comes to Sri Lanka. How many of them? 5 of them. 2 weeks, I would say, hypothetically say $50,000, $60,000 for that entire trip.
Right.
And he's posting about Sri Lanka.
Yeah.
How many followers does he have? Probably 1 million or more.
Yeah.
So he's actually become a touch point to all of them, and that inspires them to come.
Correct.
But does it really happen with a backpacker? He posts something. Does he have 1 million followers for? No, who aspires travel? That's what we need to look at.
Yeah, but I would say to that, the backpackers do contribute in a certain way. Okay? A good example is, have you heard of Pidurangala?
Yeah.
So it's a rock next to '𝐶𝐞𝐬𝐸, and
that whole depth stretch, right?
No, 𝐶𝐞𝐬𝐸.
No, 𝐶𝐞𝐬𝐸.
Secret.
Neighboring rock.
There's a neighboring rock.
Okay.
So the entrance to 𝐶𝐞𝐬𝐸 is $35.
Right.
Okay. And usually back in 2014-15, a backpacker's daily budget would have been about $20. So they would find a hostel for $8 to $10, maybe $12. And then they would eat 3 meals and then have a beer or something in the evening. That was their daily budget. 20. If they're feeling a little lavish, they'd go 30, 35. All right. So 𝐶𝐞𝐬𝐸 being one of the most important, hotspots in tourism for Sri Lanka, that was one of their entire day's budget or more. And many backpackers were not happy to fork that money out to go and see 𝐶𝐞𝐬𝐸. So what did they start doing? There was a rock next to it, which was just a temple. They started climbing that rock.
Okay.
And they started posting pictures of 𝐶𝐞𝐬𝐸 from Pidurangala.
Okay.
Right? The view is spectacular. Now Pidurangala is another tourist destination.
Right. Right.
And it happened because people could not afford the ticket to 𝐶𝐞𝐬𝐸.
Okay. So you're saying this happened because of the backpacking community?
Yeah. I would say 100%.
So that's the thing. Each party or
But,
So they are all
a large
interconnected.
number of them, a large
Okay.
number of backpackers would contribute. Same with Allah. Allah was almost unheard of.
it was a ghost town.
It was a complete ghost town.
So that's why it's important to have that mix. The thing is, Sri Lanka is, you can't forget that Sri Lanka is still small. We have 65,000 square kilometers. Can we handle like thousands of bus groups? Do we have the infrastructure for that?
This is true.
So that's what we need to really identify. Like you can't expect to have the entire cake.
You're talking about managing expectations as well.
Exactly,
Yeah.
exactly, and catering to them, right? So we can learn from other destinations as well on where this bubble exploded, not in a good way, in terms of bringing the mass market. Bali.
Where are we in terms of data accumulation and collection, in terms of having KPIs of having proper numbers and figures in tourism? I mean,
Nowhere.
nowhere, right?
I think the private sector has a more robust approach when it comes to that.
Okay.
But I think still in the state level, there's a lot more to do. But I think slowly we are moving on the right direction
Yes.
now, for sure, from
Is
where we
there-
were.
Is there more synergy and harmony? Do you feel that obviously there can be a lot more support from state? Obviously there can be more people in the privatized sector that could also maybe lend not just more credence, but support. And what I'm trying to ask is, so we spoke about the ecosystem with just the clientele, but let's look at it in a macro way instead of the micro, and let's look at the ecosystem as a much larger, bigger picture. And tourism is something that's abundantly going to help Sri Lanka in the long run as part of the bigger picture. So let's look at all of you guys in tourism forming constituents or significant components or parts of a bigger puzzle. Each of you all are jigsaws. Would you guys say that right now there is synergy where people are working together here, or is this still the sort of industry where there's a lot of riffraff and a lot of issues?
The latter.
The latter. Always the
Yeah.
latter.
So like every other industry in Sri Lanka, pretty much.
Pretty
It's
much.
dog eat dog, cat
Dog
eat
eat
cat,
dog,
rat
yeah.
eat bat.
That's it. But the thing is, this says even in a modicum of unity,
Mm.
so much we can go. We can take giant steps.
This is the thing.
And this industry is $5 billion of revenue. 2018-19 fiscal. That was
In terms of GDP, what is tourism's contribution?
you know the figure for that.
No, I don't know the figure of that.
Would it be about like, if I remember right,
I mean, so
8
you
to
ha-
10%? Would that be
It-
fair?
It would be around 8 to 10.
8 to 10.
I know the 2018-19 figure was the first time tourism kind of overtook, in a small period, that December to March period, the income from tourism overtook the income from, our poor Sri Lankans working in the Middle East, which
Right.
is
Right.
essentially our largest export, right? So,
What people don't understand is people often see the stage and they see the glamour and they see the sensationalism and the show and the success and all of that,
Mhm.
right? What I love about sensory indulgences is a story that you bring people into Sri Lanka and make them a part of the sensory story, but also it becomes their story,
Correct.
right? But when it comes to storytelling, there are so many narratives, multiple narratives, and people don't see what's behind the scenes. So I feel like it's very important for people to understand that there are so many key integral stakeholders. When we talk about tourism, we are not just talking about the tour operators and you guys that provision like tourism opportunities, or we're talking about the agents or the intermediaries, or we're talking about the tourists. There are so many dependent individuals, and there are so many independent variables in tourism, right? From the hotels, and if you take a hotel, it's so many components and subcomponents of people that are involved in that
Yeah.
that particular process,
A lot of moving
that
parts.
moment.
Yeah.
So it's a lot of moments captured and given meaning, right? So could you talk about some of the stakeholders that are completely there, the ones that we see and the ones that we don't? You guys can give a shout out to.
I mean, would like to talk about the working class heroes.
5%.
According to Francis,
When
Got
was
it.
this?
Okay.
when was this?
Which year was this?
1920.
1920.
23.
2023.
Yeah, so I'm
23.
talking about 2018-19.
Okay. So,
Yeah, so it should be around 10%.
thanks. So about roughly,
Yeah.
right?
Yeah.
According to SLTD, it's nearly 10%.
Yeah.
There you
Nearly
go.
10%.
Yeah.
There you go. Yeah.
So there you go. That's a considerable amount.
It's a considerable amount.
It's 5
yes.
billion USD.
Absolutely.
And that's the thing. It's instantaneous as well.
Yes.
So literally, when we had a dollar issue going on, what we were telling our clients was, come, if you want to help Sri Lanka, come and have a good time whilst helping Sri Lanka.
Right.
Because you're on holiday and you're helping the local economy. There's
That's
a
true.
big misconception that when they come, it'll take a plate of rice from a poor family. On the contrary, though, it will give 3
Yeah.
plates of rice. So this is what we again need in destination marketing to tackle negative PR
The
like this
stigma,
coming out.
the negative PR.
Yeah.
Important that you mentioned this. This
Yeah.
is a massive issue of contention. The Russian and Ukrainian demographic that is in Sri Lanka, that's dominating and patronizing down south.
Yeah.
The larger patronage of the backpacker communities. Now, I've had constant arguments with people in tourism about this.
Mhm.
My standpoint is there are pros and cons for sure, but also that they do add some value by helping contribute to the larger ecosystem is my argument,
Understood.
because they're still dependent on certain variables in Sri Lanka being in Sri Lanka. The argument is that a lot of them start their own businesses, a lot of them are sort of narrowing down where they're just connecting and collaborating, and the camaraderie is mostly within those circles. But what is your standpoint in this? Because I think this is something where people like you guys that are experts on tourism, it's time someone spoke about it. Because last I checked, aren't there like 200, 300,000 Russians and Ukrainians that are here? So there are a couple of problems here, right? So where they are getting jobs, they may not have job visas or working visas, which is a separate issue altogether. But it's still adding to the number of tourists in the country.
Mm.
Is it helping tourism or is it doing more harm?
I would say it does both at the same time.
Mm.
Okay, and I'll explain. I'm not against people coming to Sri Lanka and working, right? Because one thing our locals can do is we can absorb knowledge and experience from people who understand the international market a little better than us.
Right,
Okay, we're frogs in a well
right,
at the end of the day, right? So working with somebody from outside Sri Lanka, you begin to understand an entirely different side of things.
and a mindset of a different
Yeah, yeah.
target audience and a
Work
target
ethic,
group, right?
everything,
That's true.
right? So that's good. Personally, I think people should, this is just personal, I think people should have the freedom to run their own businesses and things like
Right,
that.
right.
But
Providing
ethically,
they follow certain regulatory
Yeah,
frameworks and
exactly.
yeah,
We
yeah.
need to
Exactly.
set that as well and be strict about it.
Yeah.
That's the thing. You go to another country, even an Asian country, there are rules and regulations. I can't walk into, say, Bali tomorrow
And just start a business.
Yeah,
and
right?
start a restaurant.
True.
I'll be kicked out. You'll be deported. So
So-
I found out. Yeah.
That's true.
ethically, I believe if you go to another country,
You have the right
play,
to do that.
Yeah, but
Okay.
you have to play to their tune.
Mm.
I mean, come on, you need to pay the taxes of that country,
Correct.
right? You need to register your business, you need to keep records, you need to contribute to that country. You can't just go and open or start a business somewhere else. I mean, you have to pay taxes at the end of the day somewhere.
That's true. Yes, absolutely.
So I think
we don't like it, but it's the truth.
It has to be done. Yeah, yeah.
So here I think this riffraff is coming from a majority. Well, a lot of people deem that they are not following the regulations and rules and the
Yeah.
taxation. That they informally or illegitimately have started their own communities of small pods of businesses.
Right.
That is the issue.
Yeah.
So that needs to be investigated and the regulations to be followed by the authorities.
Like I saw
Right, exactly.
something on X on Twitter that was shared with actual visual evidence that there is this massive poker thing happening down south.
Is there?
Illegal poker games and illegal gambling that's now happening all over the place.
This last week there was a white party or face paint, something like
face code.
face code. So there's no
Yes.
dress code, there's a face code, and
There's a
everything
face
has to
code.
be white.
There's a lot of contention about that also,
Yeah, no,
right?
I mean, that sort of shit should never be tolerated, right? So, I mean, you can't let people just come in and do whatever the hell they want.
That's
I mean,
true.
in all honesty,
It needs to be curated and
if
regulated.
we can't
what
do
you say.
things that way, why should other people be left to do that?
Yeah.
It should be one rule for everyone, right? So one thing I was happy to see, like with the pickup of tourism in the last maybe 2 years,
Mm.
is there's a little bit more that the police and the law enforcement is doing to better the situation. If you went to the south, anywhere from 𝐒𝐞𝐬 to Mirissa
Mm.
during high tourist season, half the people on bikes don't have a local license. They don't wear helmets. I mean, what are we telling the world? Okay, just because you're a foreigner, you're above the law, right? So now a lot of those things have been, kind of they've clamped down on it, and they've made getting a local driver's permit very easy. I think thanks to the tourism ministry, they're doing good work,
Right.
right? So formally, if you are a foreigner, to be able to drive in Sri Lanka, you have to go to the DMT, and you have to apply for a driving permit and all of that. It takes 3-4 hours, and you get it. Now you can just get it at the airport, right?
Okay. Okay.
Solves a whole load of problems,
Okay.
right? Then there's no insurance problems. There's nothing, right? So that way, I'm very thankful that the police have, kind of been a bit proactive and doing things the right way. But yeah, there are so many locals who are running businesses right now only for foreigners.
Right. Yeah. So that was my next question. We have always, not just in recent times, there's been this marginalized, polarized thing where there are plenty of locals and local entrepreneurs and businesses that treat people from abroad with a great deal of exclusivity, right? And it shouldn't be so. Where there are plenty of scenarios where even we've experienced. A lot of clubs had it over here in Sri Lanka, clubs and pubs, where for the longest time they would really rattle the cages of locals if locals go in with wearing a certain attire and dress code. But the moment you had a bunch of tourists coming in, they would allow them even in just shorts and flip flops to go in. And like you said, there should be regulatory frameworks and things have to be mediated, and there has to be a benchmark and a standard that's equal for all.
Yeah.
But how can that be achieved within the tourism industry and in Sri Lanka? Who are the key players, the stakeholders that need to come to make decisions on this? Not just the tour operators, not just the tourist board, but who are the significant players that can make a difference here?
I think it's other local entrepreneurs.
Mm.
So I'll give you an example.
You mean venue owners
Yes,
and
yes.
such?
It has to be from that level. I'll give you a very clear example. Back 4 or 5 years ago in the south, we take Unawatuda for example, right? There are a lot of places that did exactly what you explained just now,
Right.
right? And then it took two or three guys from Colombo. They opened a place called Toddy by Hopper,
Right.
and Angel Beach also opened in Unawatuna, and they have absolutely no discrimination,
Right.
right? So the locals around, restaurant owners, like beach club owners around, figured out, like, they were like, shit, locals spend more than the foreigners.
This is my point. This is where they're getting hit, because I see weekly updates of people still going down south, going to Una, going to other places where they've been told to clear off the tables and leave at a certain point, that they're closing. And the recent scenario where they were passing, they'd gone somewhere else, a group of about 9 or 10 people. And I know some of these people who went, and I wouldn't say that they're very affluent, high-end spenders, but within the lot of them, they would have spent quite a buck, right?
Yeah.
I mean, these are people who've gone down south and spent like 5-6 times more just to get like 2 or 3 bottles of
Yeah.
gin, that
Yeah.
kind of thing, right?
Yeah.
So they were willing to spend. They waited there. They've already spent. They were told to leave and clear out, that the place is closing. They had gone somewhere else, taken their business somewhere else. Heading back at 2-3 in the morning, they'd seen that the place was still open, and their very table was occupied with foreigners.
I mean, these are some who haven't learned their lesson after COVID.
Yeah.
I mean, who was there for everybody in the industry
Well,
when the country
locals-
shut down? It was all the locals.
All the local people in our
right?
country, right?
people were
That's it.
actively supporting
They were actively
hotels.
supporting.
Yes.
Locals were actively saying, okay, let's go, let's support this industry.
Mm.
So sometimes
Right.
people forget how volatile tourism is. That's the thing. It'll be like
It's
it
not
can
people.
go-
It's
yeah.
not people forgetting the volatility of tourism.
Yeah.
Sri Lankans in general have small minds and even
Yeah.
shorter memories.
Yeah.
That is very true.
Right.
Very true.
I mean, people forget things so easily over here, right? Like overnight. So, having said that, let's go to something a little bit more positive, right? Because we sadly went to the dark side for a while there.
We did that.
Let's
come back. To the
let's
post.
talk about some of the specialties of some of the offerings that you guys have. What is it that you offer? I mean, people need to understand. They think
Yeah.
the tourists come down, you just take the tourists, drop them at a hotel. From the hotel, take them scuba diving. Scuba diving,
Yeah.
just take them to a restaurant, take them back to the hotel, back to the airport, tata, bye. It's obviously not that. It's
Yeah.
something that's more holistic, comprehensive. So, could you just take us through the ideal process of how many things you guys actually facilitate and offer to tourists in terms of an experience in Sri Lanka, especially for our overseas
Yeah.
viewers, right?
We have around 40 experiences, out of which around 15 to 17 are active at the moment.
Okay.
And it ranges across a lot of genres. For example, mixology to food, culture, lifestyle, whatever it is.
History.
History. And the best part about our experiences is it's hosted. When it is hosted, there are storytellers.
Right.
And they depict the story of what you're going through, and that's what you experience from the senses. So that's literally our logo as well, the palm. So
The
a fun
5 senses,
story.
unraveling your senses,
Exactly. Bit of a, just to get the doom and gloom away.
Yeah.
So fun story is that when I designed that logo, one of my friends called me and asked, are you guys starting a spa? I actually said that, well, that's the backup plan if everything goes to shit.
We can use the same name.
right? This is true.
Right? So anyway, getting back to...
Being a recent how shall we say this, person that's involved in the spa and
Spa.
wellness industry. Let's just say that I can relate. That is a good motive for logo to have.
Exactly. So anyway, getting back to the question again. So in terms of, I think food experiences, we have a really holistic one in Colombo, which was our flagship experience, and I'll let Billy take that because he personally created that and he hosts it.
Okay.
So he'll explain to you the intricate thinking on what goes into it. People think it's only about the food, but it's much more than that.
Yeah,
So-
because apart from, like, I know both of you love your food.
Yeah.
I have to say that, and
Yeah.
that's a very important thing. But also, Brindley, you're a brilliant cook, right? And you also have history and experience in crafting menus.
Yeah.
So please elaborate more on what.
So, I mean, our pilot experience was the Colombo food coma. And the term food coma is what our family uses a lot because, like, sometimes we eat way too much and then we're in a food coma, can't move like a python. So, when I want to do this, I always wanted to. I mean, personally, I've heard a lot of stories and met a lot of people who've had really bad experiences with arak. Okay, so good, like extremely good Sri Lankan coconut arak to me is one of the greatest beverages out there. Huge fan of it. I thought it would be nice when we start off to give them a little bit of education on arak. You know, its history.
Right.
How old is this drink? How did it come to the limelight? Why the rest of the world doesn't know about it?
Right.
So we start off in some good dodgy bar, and we use a few bars for that in Colombo. Have
I
about
don't think
2
they'd
shots.
appreciate being called dodgy bars, but okay.
Oh no, they are proper dodgy bars. So yeah, we have about 2 shots, maybe 3
Nice.
of arak, good doubles, and then we start off and we go to we go to golf face, right?
Right.
And a golf face, it can be a little bit messy if you don't know what you're doing and you don't know where to go.
Right.
So we've been using the same vendors for the last almost 5 years now,
Okay.
and we've never had any issues with them. So we go there and we have the isowades, the tapioca chips and nacharu and just the whole gamut of everything that's available there. We show them what the city is like. So they start off at this dodgy bar, they come here. So usually the dodgy bars are owned by either a Sinhalese entity or a Tamil entity.
Right.
And then you have the people at Golf Face who are mostly from the Tamil community. Then from there, we would walk to Dutch Hospital, right? So
Right.
we'd show them how the skyline has changed, how fast it changed, and give them a reference point. So in the early 70s, the 𝐒𝐞𝐞 Tower was
So they're
built.
walking around doing all of
Yeah.
this.
And so the 𝐒𝐞𝐞 Tower, right next to
Yeah.
the Dutch Hospital, that was built in the early 70s, and that was the tallest building in Colombo
Right.
at the time. So you use that as a reference point and then show them, the skyline. And we have a good draft beer at the Dutch Hospital because our clientele, which are considerably the luxury clientele, they go to a lot of boutique hotels, and if you know how draft beer works, draft beer doesn't work for boutique hotels because there's a very slow movement.
Right.
So you need to finish that 20-liter keg in about 48
right.
hours or else it goes bad. So we let them experience a draft beer, a few bites there. And then we go to a few of Colombo's like famous eateries. And we finish off at the typical Carnival because that's where that's one of the oldest ice cream parlors. So we go to business owners of all different, major ethnicities in Sri Lanka. When we do it in the afternoon, we actually try and include either Cyril Rodriguez or the Dutch Burger Union for some good lamprey and things like that, which are from, the burger culture. So it's showing them different foods of different cultures in Sri Lanka and showing them what Colombo is
Right.
in terms of Colombo's tolerance, in terms of Colombo's acceptance,
Hospitality.
and the hospitality.
And the vibrancy and the diversity.
Exactly. So it's a complete understanding of what this little city, but this super active little city is about.
So you take this and you expand it and you push the envelope where you take it to the outskirts. Is it the same process? The same
in?
experience?
I mean, the thinking behind curating the experience is the same. We have a method to the madness.
Yeah.
Right.
So we always question why do we do it? So there is a system. So it's the why, what, and how. So if,
What I mean is, it's not
Yeah.
it's not limited to Colombo.
no.
No,
So this
that's
is
just
just
one
That's what I mean.
experience.
Yeah. So now, like, if you, what I mean is the process sort of similar, where you take it, say, out of Colombo, you take them to multiple locations and sites. That's what I mean.
So it depends on what you do. I mean, we have from hiking and trekking
right.
to mountain biking through villages.
And then your wildlife thing, I
again,
think, is very important.
Yeah.
You should talk about
that-
that.
and then we have a new product
for Safari Life that's
Safari
coming
Life,
up, and then we have history walks with archaeologists, to stargazing with astrophysicists, to trekking with people who summited Mount Everest, to
That's amazing.
off-roading.
With regard to the safari thing, I have to let our viewers know that I still have a new pair of safari shorts I bought for this experience, and they are yet to take me. It's a true story, man. It's a true story.
Let's
Yala
go in
became a
March,
water
yeah.
park. No, that's what happened.
Yeah, I became water park for a while. So, one more thing I want to talk about, and this is important. Speak to your heart's content, and then we'll move to the final segment. How and where can we improve Sri Lankan tourism?
Ooh. Can we
Where
have
to
another
start?
episode?
We can
Well, in a nutshell, I think it all comes down to
just summarize it. If you had to summarize it,
implementation.
Hmm.
Implementation. That's
Meaning?
it.
when you say implementation,
In terms of, okay, first of all, we know what we need to do, right? It's an elephant in the room situation. We know exactly what we need to do to take this industry to the next level.
right?
We are always talking about it.
Hmm.
We are always, after COVID, there were around 100 webinars about rethinking tourism too, how to do this and that. It always got limited to a webinar.
I remember. Where are all those people, by the way?
No idea, but doesn't matter. End of the day, it's about putting money where your mouth is and actually going ahead and implementing.
Right.
Look, they implemented. Now, this is something we've been telling from 2010. Expand the hours when Sigiriya is open.
Right.
Go very early in the morning and close at late in the night. They started doing that.
Mm.
And look what's happening now. From 5:30 to 7:30 in the morning,
Mm.
Sigiriya is earning so much more than they'll do for the entire half day.
Mm.
Because everybody wants to catch a sunrise.
There you
And
go.
then everybody wants to catch a sunset in the evening.
Okay.
They implemented the
And
thing.
it's
you know,
like it's like some of the people don't know that you can do these things.
Yeah.
They're so stuck in this stencil. When we started sensory indulgences, we wanted to do an experience of the Kotte kingdom. There are many ruins, like tons of ruins, and so many stories to be shared there.
Yeah.
So where did we start? The Kotte Museum. And we were told, oh, no, you can't bring tourists here. And we asked them why.
What is it there for?
No, we asked them why. No, nobody has brought tourists here before. So you can't bring tourists here. So we had to go to the Department of Archaeology, speak to those people, get permission. I mean, like, there was no law saying you can't bring tourists into the museum. It's just that nobody has brought them before, so no, you can't bring them now.
So I think to sum it all up, we need unity. And I would say the government or the authorities have a pivotal part to play in that, where they need to literally make independent national policies and they need to be the policymakers.
Right.
But a policy does not just appear. Policy goes through a lot of debate and, creative arguments before it's kind of made.
But in order, when you say they need to make policies, it's integral that they get
It's a national policy. Doesn't change
key
in the government.
national policies.
Yeah, it has to be a national policy.
Right.
And we need to have short, mid, and long-term
Long,
goals
yeah.
on the policy that we make. It cannot be touched by anybody who comes. It needs to be approved on such a level that it's literally gold. It's just there till we see the home run. I mean, you can make small amendments, timely amendments. But what I'm saying is, to make that policy, there are so many people in the private sector who, I would say, I know that nobody can argue, that has ran this industry for the past 30 years on their shoulders. I would say around 95 to 98% is run by the private sector.
Yeah.
So we are here, if called upon, to give our knowledge out for free. Like, get us all in the game.
and to ease the burden. no?
Burden.
So everyone's hogging onto the same.
Correct. So we will say, okay, do this. This is not just my opinion, but it's tried and tested, proven in other destinations. So many places to learn from. And there are so many people who's out there who just wants to be called in, saying, can you help?
Right.
So we are just waiting for that call, and we will jump at it because all of us in this game wants to see this industry flourish and hence ensure that Sri Lanka becomes a better place. And that's why we are still saying there's so much of knowledge drain that's happened, but we are still here because since we've traveled abroad a lot, we know it's not rainbows and unicorns out there.
Yeah.
I mean, we have rainbows and unicorns here in
Yeah.
that regard, right? And this is home.
But Sri Lanka
Yeah.
has always long dreamed and spoken about being progressive, when in fact we always take one step forward, 10 cartwheels back to be regressive, right? There are disruptors in any industry. I'd say you guys are proper disruptors. Sensor indulgences. I would throw in GFW, Golf Fort Walks there as well, and some other players in the industry doing things differently. You're definitely disrupting things. So these people that you said, the 90% who have been either monopolizing the market or those who've been dominating the market, the ones who've been controlling things, right? It's actually an oligopoly, isn't it? It's not to say that they don't add value and benefit, but they need to make some segue and leeway to allow other players to operate also, right? It's not that they're causing hindrances and obstacles, but what you're saying is there can be more integration, right?
And also what I'm saying is the private sector as a whole, with the large, small players, we literally ran the industry to this day on our shoulders.
Right. Okay.
Right. So what we're saying is let us do that. If you look at Maldives, 99% of the Maldives tourist industry is run by the private sector.
Man, and look at how it's boomed, right?
And the government just collects the island tax and whatever statutory taxes that are due to them. And look,
That is true.
you don't have to look far from home to get a case study and learn. The numbers and data is waiting out there. It's just a very small flick that we need to do and just implement. You will upset a few people. I mean, you're not here to make people happy. Literally, you have to get this off the ground.
That's
I think that's
no one. I mean, as they say, Rome wasn't built in one day, no?
Exactly.
And it certainly wasn't built without turning a few stones and upsetting
Exactly.
a couple of people, right? All right, guys. So
Great.
thank you so much. We're going to
That's
end
right.
this with an awesome segment called the Rapid Fire Session.
over here.
And you guys can't think.
You have to go on autopilot.
You're going autopilot. Right? It's fun mostly. I'm
Yeah,
going to
of
ask
course.
questions. But the disadvantage is that when I ask the question, one answers, the other will have a bit more time to formulate an answer, but it doesn't matter. But this is fun stuff. And this will help people to sort of understand the nucleus of what makes you guys tick and talk, and also how different you guys are. All right?
Yeah.
So let's start with something very simple. What's your favorite food?
Pork.
Kotu.
That was very fast and simple. Favorite alcohol?
Single malt.
Correct.
Very good. Favorite dessert?
Anything chocolate.
Chocolate mousse.
Favorite restaurant to patronize in Sri Lanka?
Oh, tough.
The Lagoon.
Pilaus.
You're going to get a lifetime VIP
Yeah,
and Pilaus,
I'm
bro.
playing my cards right here now.
No, but you're saying it instantaneously. So, all right, here's something else. What is your favorite movie of all time?
Ooh.
While he's doing oof, you can give an answer.
Saving Private Ryan.
Lord of the Rings trilogy.
All right, good one. Favorite book?
Tough one.
Frankenstein, Dean Koontz.
Dean Koontz, nice one.
Yeah. Drawing blanks. Huck Finn.
Huckleberry Finn? Nice one. What's your favorite go-to song of all time?
Cemetery Gates, Pantera.
Nice one.
Layla.
Nice one. You're stuck in a desert island, both of you. You can have only one album. What's that album? Music album.
Clapton Unplugged.
Nice.
Oh, man. Moving Pictures, Rush.
Rush. Nice.
Nice.
Yeah.
Awesome. Finally, favorite TV show?
How do I answer this?
Patriot.
Not watched.
The best.
Really?
The best.
Based on the movie The Patriot?
No. This is about a spy. It's an Amazon.
Okay,
thing.
okay.
Just 2 seasons. Probably the best dark humor ever created.
Need to check it out. Don't know.
I would say Warrior,
For you is good.
because
Oh, it stays with you, huh?
it stays with
Yeah.
you.
Yeah.
Especially because I am a big fan of Bruce Lee as well.
Yeah, Jess and I are just now, we're
Yeah.
on to season 2 and
And
we're
I think
like,
okay.
Andrew Koji is like the reincarnation.
He's the best.
Seriously. It's crazy.
and it's brilliant. So
Yeah.
awesome, guys. Thank you so much for your time. Thanks
Thanks
for
for
being
having
here.
us.
Thank you for having us.
Great.
And
Suresh.
lovely
This is
time.
awesome.
How can people contact you guys? How would they get in touch with you?
So you can get in touch with us. If you go to our website, you can go to sensoryindulgences.com. You find our contact details or our email. You can reach out to us via socials, Sensory Indulgences on Facebook or Sensory Indulgences SL on Instagram.
Nice. There you go. So thank you, guys. This is the Island Renaissance podcast, and we had the amazing sensory indulgences. Hope you gained some value, some insight from this podcast. Thanks, gents. Thanks for being here.
Thank you.